Okay, good. All right, well, that shows you what I didn't read. Okay, everyone, it's 8:10. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Father, we just said the Pledge of Allegiance, Lord, on this Veterans Day weekend, week. Lord, we acknowledge and we are so grateful to the men and women who fought, died, bled for our country, Lord. We can have the freedoms that we enjoy and sometimes take for granted. Father, guide the people in this room to make decisions that benefit the people of Brown County. Lord, that bring wisdom, Lord, that bring comfort. And Father, let bring, peace and success to the people who want these things. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Well, good morning, everybody. Had the privilege over the weekend to attend it's a funeral. Sounds kind of strange to be a privilege, but a man who lived 97 years. He was a veteran, and the flags in the Zion Lutheran Cemetery were all flying high and whipping in the wind. And it is something that we try not to take for granted, but thankfully, some days we actually can. That, we just take freedom. It's just what we know. It's what it is, but it's not free. And that sounds like a cliche, but it is very, very true that without the sacrifice and service of people in the armed forces, life would be much different in this country. So thank you for that. And we'll move into the county personnel and public comment. Is there any this morning? And if there's not, and if there decides to be, we'll make time for you when you come in. But if there's not, we could move in because of the essence of time. Would you like to jump right in?
Yes.
Well, we do, and they're here. Did everybody get that email? Did it go through? Did anything happen?
No.
Okay, that's all right. That's all right. Fellas, could I ask a favor? Could you come back a little later in the day? Is that possible? Austin, how long is it going to take you to give us your updates before you need to leave?
About 10-15 minutes at most.
Okay, about 15 minutes. Would you come back you came back in 15? Can we do this in, how much time do you think? What they want to talk about is Denny, like, remember on Friday or Thursday, he talked about maybe wanting to work in the afternoon.
Right.
That's what you want to talk about. Is that correct? Okay. So our county counselor has to leave and here in about 20 minutes. So then we got somebody at, just come back in 15 minutes. Would that work? Took me forever to say that, but thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much. So I will, and I have to go to the next commission meeting. We do it in the morning. So thank you for the accommodation. So, a few work items, and then, I also brought a short form agreement that talks about what we talked about last time with, some additional work that's, for a period of time for however long the commission. But I'm helping, support some of the transition stuff that we're doing as we streamline into the next year. So that's there for that. And so that'd be something you guys could consider for approval today. I would also, there's a handful of things that we probably need to, and this is more just sort of an overarching, right? We've got, I'm working this week on a quitclaim deed scenario back and forth, to get that finalized. We're waiting on the Evergy side of things. They're not waiting on anything from me. They're waiting on something from, I've sent them stuff. They're supposed to send me for code language on the Fairview. I'm still waiting on that. I think that's on their to-do list, but I plan to send a follow-up email on that. Just to find out where they're at. We have, Nikki, did we get from Jeff the signed copy of the agreement? Okay, so I'm gonna reach out to Jeff Ham this week and find out about where we're at on the sanitation, solid waste hauling. Okay, and then I also am gonna deal with Evergy status update. Okay, one of the strategically, we talked last week a little bit about where things are at with insurance and the conversation that's gonna happen today. In Nemaha. Okay, about what that, part of what their structure is gonna look like. I think ultimately with the goal there, and one of the goals that I think we could probably talk through how we get to is, all right, we've got these options about how do we set up our own kind of managed care network? That's basically what we were talking about last time. But also, what does it look like? Because right now, everything is like a graph, if you will. We're self-insuring up to $50,000. And then everything over on top of that, we pay a high premium. Well, eventually, if you get 3 or 4 years worth of self-insurance, right, then your insurance goes up, right, from 50 to 100 to 150, your catastrophic level, which reduces your premiums even further. So the idea is that if you do this in the right way, over time, your insurance can significantly reduce. So you can be self-insuring up to $150,000 for each claim. And then we have to look at that. 150,000 is usually where if you're listening to claims agents, right, or our representative, usually we're at about $150,000 on a claim. So then you're catastrophic. You're really dealing with catastrophic coverage and there's not that much there. So that way, if you think about it, I think we're at somewhere between 1 to 1.2 million on our insurance. Yep. And we get there through usage and through a managed care network. You get there where you're controlling that. Where I don't want to quote formally because I'm not an insurance claim specialist, but I would say if you're looking at this and your catastrophic is $500,000 or $600,000, you get that down to 100 to 200,000 because they don't have much risk. All right. So then you've got that linebacker, and then you've got 800,000 each year for a period of time that comes through. You're able to reduce your benefits cost over time. It becomes sort of like what happens with what should happen with large funds, but it's how large insurance companies make money because they take that and they invest it. So that's sort of the thought, is that you do that and we can work to build that in a better way. And even with sort of, we haven't had the conversation yet with Amberwell Health, what that's gonna look like, but I think it's a good idea to have the conversation about what it looks like for them, because if we have one physician that's doing direct primary care, right, or we can lodge into that. But also with Amberwell, there may be a situation where they say, I want this level of reimbursement, and here's our group of experts that we'll bring to the table so that your employees can come over, right? And that may be a very good figure for us. And for them, it's helpful because they can bank on it as revenue and that helps them. And then you still have the linebacker insurance that comes up over an individual part of it. So figuring out what that looks like over the next 6 to 9 months, that's going to take us a long way, because that's really where you get into your that's your middle. That's the driver. Insurance, you guys are right to be focusing on insurance. Really, insurance and then increases in like fuel commodities. That's really what drives your jet. So it's right.
We're at 232 right now.
A mil?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. 232,000.
And if you don't adjust insurance,
229.
if you don't adjust insurance, it will be 229.3.
Right.
You have to adjust it. And the only way that you can do it without having like a long-term cut in employee benefits is to figure out how to use self-insurance to better your self-insurance model.
So we have approximately 59 participants
Right.
now. That's going to fluctuate.
Yeah.
So, this outside the box thinking that we're doing right now, brainstorming to try to figure out how we get ahead of the curve on insurance.
Yeah.
So if you were to increase the number of participants, obviously you're more attractive when you're going and talking to a hospital or a physician. So what if you're in a county and you go to your cities in the county that have health insurance and you say, why don't we all look at this together? Because they're, you know, I'm assuming cities are having the same problem we are. And increase the numbers, not in our plan, but just, in other words, if other people joined on at the same time and said, we would be willing to do this, does that increase the attractability?
Yes.
Or is it, I mean, I'm just looking at how you partner with people that are supposed to be your partners, or maybe.
No, but I think it's absolutely right. And so I think that there's an element there. There's even an element. We used to have county and we still have county hospitals. Okay, but how things get funded in that direction are different. And we need to look at that from a long term, but reality is that if you have a managed plan that sits there and maybe the county is assisting in establishing that, it's voluntary with the cities, but if you put the cities together in the county and then maybe there's some availability that people can look at it and say, oh, I want to be a part of that managed plan, right? Then you've got a larger base of people, and it's also better for like the hospital or the physician, because then you've got that recovery that they understand they can rely on from an income standpoint. It becomes a numbers game, like, yeah, so I like that.
And we can't speak for other
No,
entities, but maybe those are the kind of ideas where you get in a room and talk about it. At least,
and there's a good way to do this, because the question is, oh, legally, how do you do it? KSA 122904 says that we can enter into interlocal agreements with other governments to do anything that we're lawfully authorized to do. And we're authorized to provide health insurance, so entering into those interlocal agreements is a good thing to explore. So no, I like it. I think it's a smart thing to do, and the more that we add. I don't want to speak too much on behalf of Nemaha County, because I can't like speak on behalf of the commission, but I think that it could, you know, we're neighboring counties. And having that conversation, maybe there's a joint pool, right, where we've got several, because we're talking about the exact same issue today in Nemaha County, run insurance. How do we pool that? So I like it. Good idea.
When I hear this, it sounds wonderful. Just, I hear the timeline, you know, and it seems like we're a year away, like that's a lot of time, but it will just disappear. So how do we, what's the first step and when? I mean, is it like right now?
Right.
Right now.
Right now, between now and the beginning of January, between now and January, February, we need to have meetings. In fact, the conversation in Nemaha is on right now, because we've already said we only have, if we're gonna implement, we have to do something towards this time, because by this time next year, it has to all be set up. So there's not a lot.
And we can work with Nemaha County too.
Yeah,
Correct. I mean, if you guys make some breakthrough over there, we can piggyback, or we vice versa, you know.
and I think what's gonna happen is I think it's gotta be a joint
Okay.
conversation, because if you put, we've got 54 employees, and then we've got kids, family that are with that. And then you've got Nemaha, and then if you put the cities in the area, you've got a pool. And that pool is now a force,
right,
if you will.
force
Okay.
multiplier.
It's a force multiplier. And the other thing is, and now I'm gonna get off a soapbox, because I'm gonna be on a soapbox for a minute, okay? There's a lot of people that don't have access to an insurance pool. Based off of, or an insurance pool that really works well. So we all lived through what happened in the last 15, 20 years, without saying anything more than that, okay? This may be an opportunity so that people that don't have, you know, we've got a lot of farmers in our community that don't get access to regular health insurance pools. Okay, so there may be an opportunity there to allow people that don't have good access outside of what we're talking, to have sort of a managed care opportunity that's affordable. Right, and so I kind of like that as a long-term, if that makes sense what I'm saying. Yeah,
Okay.
and it's because we have a lot of small businesses here, and it's just not easy to provide benefits.
Right.
Yeah, so anyway, enough of that, but I do think that I think we've got about 9 to 12 months to put this together, and this is the amount of time we have. So I think probably a next step is for Commissioner Richard and I to connect on this. I'm gonna
Right.
find out more what's going on in Nemaha today, and then we need to start scheduling some meetings with the cities, see what we do.
Wintertime. It's a good time for meeting.
It's the time. It's because you get into February, but February, March, cities are panicked with budgets in terms of timeline. And so we really have the next 3 to 4 months to do something innovative.
All right. Okay, so. Jeff, what else?
That's enough for me. Other than I've got that one page agreement.
Okay, that we'll go over, did you want to ask, I guess, about the trucking, the agreement for the?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yes, I'll have that. I think we'll probably connect this afternoon, just briefly to touch over some things. And address that then.
Okay,
Okay, just no home,
simple,
simple, yep.
basically allows them to sign up and we get them going and get them in here and get a little training done before
Yep.
the first snow falls.
Yep, no, we'll have a, you and I can discuss that. I have, if you haven't seen Go This Road, I think it will. I think, Commissioner Richard and I will probably meet on some of the issues, because we've got 2 or 3 things. We may have a meeting today, depending on timing. If not, we'll meet sometime in the near future to go over some of this stuff.
Okay, so, and just to explain it then, when you say you and Commissioner Richard will meet, you're discussing some of the finer points of this stuff. When you arrive at something that's workable, then you still present it to the commission and we look at it
Yeah.
as a group. Okay?
Yeah, absolutely. So like the example of that one page engagement agreement,
Uh-huh.
we'll go over that, make sure that it's in a place that's workable.
Uh-huh.
That he, I looked at it legally, he looks at it legally, practically, to make sure that we're in good shape, and then we just bring it back. It may even be a situation that we, depending on comfort level, we go to the individual haulers and say, here's what we're gonna do, and then we're gonna bring it back for approval to the commission. That's kind of what I assume. That way you don't have 2 steps. That way,
Sure.
look, here's our draft agreement. You guys, if you guys feel comfortable signing, we're gonna put them up for approval next month.
Okay,
So that way we'll have a form that
so as
doesn't slow anything down.
one of 3 here, I feel very comfortable with that arrangement, you guys working together. Do you? That's fine. Okay,
Okay.
all right. Good enough.
Other than, so I'll probably see you, depending on time. If not, we'll connect, virtually. Anything else for me before I, skedaddle?
Appreciate you making time. Our meetings, we are, very flexible. We appreciate your flexibility.
Nikki, did you have some things that you wanted to talk about? You had some items that were open?
Oh, good.
You're
Look
good,
at
Rick?
you. Nice job.
Sometimes. Also, do you have any questions before I go on the 1 page agreement?
I read it. I mean, I don't have any questions on the agreement. We got our, counting breakdown. I don't know what to call it. What is that thing called? I'm sorry. No, the percentage of budget remaining.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll have to talk about where all this stuff fits in here, but the document seemed fairly straightforward.
Well, if you guys do have questions later on, whenever you're looking at it, call me
Okay.
or text me,
Okay.
and I'll try to step out of the other meeting and I'll answer.
Are we planning, when I looked at that calendar on Thursday, you had a post-test of election machine at 10 o'clock. Do we have time? That's what you're doing. Do we have time though, and are you willing for a work session on Thursday afternoon at 1 o'clock? Kind of like what we did the week before. Do we think?
Sure.
we need time?
I mean, if,
Well, she's testing voting machines. I don't know what that all entails. So could we schedule an hour
Yeah, let's do Thursday at 1.
at 1 o'clock?
Okay, if we're good, I'll try to, I'm making sure, I don't think I have a conflict.
On 13.
Yeah. Yeah. You good?
Okay. That big, Jim.
Dallas, on Thursday, the 13th at 1, can you get him on Zoom for us? Okay. Is that enough time to report that or that?
No, wait, so.
Is it? Okay, all right. Well, I would make a motion that we have a work session. 1 hour from 1 to 2, Thursday, the 13th. Is
So
that
I'm
a second?
gonna, I've got a meeting from 1 to 1:30, so I'll be there for the second. Is that okay?
Okay.
All
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carried. We'll do that.
Thank you. Oh, oh, for the plan commission. Okay, I don't know, yeah, I don't know exactly what we're doing in solar. I may need to, what I may need to do is just sort of establish a meeting I may need to go to our planning commission meeting to understand better of what people would want. And what we want to do with solar and otherwise, I think I understand what we want to do with solar. But, understanding that a little bit more would be helpful. So, and that may be another point that Commissioner Richard and I talked about, because you've got such an extensive background in electrical.
Okay.
Facilities.
Okay, well, the planning commission came out with some info or with a resolution on solar specific, which was what they were tasked with.
I read that.
Okay.
But I want to make sure that there's nothing else. That they're-
Well, and see other things to hit. Donovan County, I think Nemaha County did it too, where they, the like battery storage, data centers, things like that, other things hit, and I think they wanted to reevaluate.
So
So,
if we want to, I mean, I do know the process well, and for that, how that went, what that valuation looked like,
Okay.
what. I mean, the things that I would recommend versus not recommend looking at if we were gonna do something.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I could at least discuss that process, and then they could determine what they might want to do, figure out what that looks like. Okay,
okay, wonderful.
all right, I'll do
Thank you.
that. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Yep. And we can just.
Sure.
Okay, now we will roll on. We'll just go right down the agenda. And when Dave and Danny get here, we'll just bounce right to them. So the first thing is the minutes from the 4th of November. Are there any additions, corrections, or comments on the minutes as presented?
I don't have any questions on the minutes.
Is there a motion to approve them?
I've moved approved minutes for November 4th.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. First check mark. Next is accounts payable as of today. Any questions on that?
So does that seems like it runs about the same. Is that correct? I mean, I don't see big spikes in that number, do you?
You mean in total?
Yeah, over the so many
Oh.
weeks that you guys have been looking at, something like that, would be an outlier, right?
There's some big stuff, yeah.
Obviously, we have an election in this cycle. That comes out of election funds and. Right.
Did you have any questions?
No, the only thing I think I figured it out, the gas and electric on across the street. Evidently, they only bill them once, not every month. I think it's the Masons that do that. On that. Juvenile justice and anyway. But kind of look back and I thought the bill was pretty big this month, but I don't think it's every month. Maybe it's February once a month. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, cause they had one in August. Anyway, it gets all right.
I didn't count the number of election workers. 50, okay. That's good.
That's an agreed upon amount that they get paid. Okay.
I did have some questions on that. What does the advanced board do?
They open ballots, stuff in the mail. And downstairs and then there's so it goes past that money. That's the things for.
Okay. Then I had a question about travel to a class. Everybody gets the same amount there far away or something.
they have to, people are not off of, not off of, they don't, they just, I don't. But everybody else, right, you get used to go to expectations and. It's easy to do early, but.
That's fine. So,
Okay, all right. Well, then, any more questions on accounts payable? If not, is there a motion to approve?
with the accounts payable.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carried. Moving on. Next, I have the wellness program.
Training that needs to be original form, the written signature instead of. Digital.
Okay,
Yeah, part of it.
the digital signature will not be accepted. Okay. All right, well. I guess, do we need a motion to approve this change then to the wellness policy?
Yeah, just the.
Okay, well, I would make a motion that we accept this new workplace wellness policy and letter and distribute to the employee. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Is there any more discussion? Moving seconded, all in favor, say aye.
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 That's easily done. Nice work. Okay, number 4 here is the personnel policy revision. That has to do with the holiday pay during the last weeks of employment or week of employment, so. Well, I thought it read fine, but I meant to ask for that. But is that the intent and the spirit of what you're talking about?
Right.
I mean, I think it, yeah,
I would have said something about you have to work the day after the holiday, but this is fine. I think
we
That's-
not
It said the same thing. I think it's,
the change in, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's good.
What do you think about it?
I mean, I think it's a good change and I think we need to do it and it's simple and
Okay, well, I'll make a motion, then we approve the new language and the separation of services in our employee policy. Is there a second?
I would second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any more discussion?
no more discussion.
I guess all in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, motion carried. This is lightning speed here. Dave and Denny. I wonder if we should go grab them before our 9 o'clock comes in. Oh, thank you, Dallas. Thank you. Okay, the last on the agenda is the end of month reports here. That was the document that shows the remainder of the budgeting. Hi, guys. Thanks for coming in. I'm sorry to chase you out. I'm gonna turn this microphone around so people can hear you. And I guess go ahead. You have the floor. This is about changing your work schedule.
Some of the things that though I just wanted to bring up is if we are. I think our, at the very least, they need to overlap. Cause there are a lot of things that takes both of us to do around here.
Uh-huh.
So there needs to be some kind of, and as far as how much they need to overlap, I don't know. I think we would probably have to. Maybe try some different scenarios, see what works the best and stuff, but. You know, I don't want anything today to be set in stone. Because we may try like a certain time period and it might not work. Or it might not work out very well or something, so.
Well,
Um,
what I want to make clear is we're not trying to be rigid and set something in stone. We want it to work. Right. And bottom line is, number one, it has to work with the people that work within the courthouse. So you guys know that better than anything. If you feel like you're disruptive working certain hours or more disruptive, or you can't do certain tasks, we want you to be able to, this is kind of like a living document. We want it to be able to be changed. So
Yeah, that's what I was saying,
It-
yeah.
we're trying to make things more efficient and make sense when we do it. And unfortunately, sometimes when you have things that are in stone, a standard operating procedure is in stone, it doesn't always work. So what we're looking for is you guys are working 8 hours a day, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so if those 8 hours a day are still being worked and it's to the best advantage of the county, we're happy. Correct?
I mean, there is a lot of discrepancy with what we're doing now.
Sure.
You know,
You
yeah,
know.
there's might be some things we like shampooing carpets. I think I brought that up last week, but. I mean, Dave brought up the point, worst case scenario, I could come in on a Saturday to do that. And then just take off during the week sometime if they want the weekly hours the way they are.
So Nikki, again, I'm not familiar with the Kansas labor laws as much, but if he works on a Saturday, does it roll into overtime automatically, or is it still 40 hours worked during the normal work?
Saturday, but we get hours that we took off.
Right,
Friday.
and Norfolk, yeah, or Saturday. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I mean, those are the kind of things, for instance, the way I would say is if you guys have a task that you're gonna do in the courthouse, it's gonna be totally disruptive to people working here. And you wanna come in on a different day and do that, we're fine with it. We're still, it's 40 hours worth of work for 40 hours pay. And so, I mean, that affects your life more than it affects our life.
I
right?
am.
Oh, come on.
It's fine. It's fine.
But as far as, I'm assuming you guys,
That's kind of one reason why we have them come in early and do a lot of the
No,
stuff.
that-
that are no one here.
that makes perfect sense. I mean,
8 o'clock, you know.
yeah. Absolutely.
There's different scenarios we could try just to see what works the best, but yeah. But I think we would need to try some different things before we decide, okay, this is what we're gonna do from now on.
Okay.
Just to make sure we get the most efficient, right, routine going.
And again, we've been talking about doing these 2-week look aheads that are gonna be very simple. That's when you're gonna write down, hey, I think we're gonna work this Saturday or whatever. That way, if we get a call, we know, yeah, these guys are working Saturday. Correct?
Yeah,
And that's-
sounds fine
That's
to
what
me.
that whole thing is about.
And it's not like it's gonna be in every week.
No, of course not. Right.
You guys will find your way. It sounds like you'll find a system that works.
Yeah, we work pretty good together. But yeah.
So then we're in agreement. I mean, consensus here that you can try something new. We don't have to do any sort of formal policy thing.
No, because we're not changing the number of hours you're working. And we're not moving anything into overtime hours, right? So. The budget's already there for what they're doing. It's,
Good, sound good.
and again, I hope that. You're gonna see that when we make these decisions and changes a lot, we're trying to make things make sense, if that makes sense to you, right? So.
Come back sometime before the end of the year. And tell us how it's working. Tell us what you arrived at, tell us how it's working. All right? Good deal.
All right.
Thanks, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh. Now,
Government that makes sense.
all sounds so simple. Okay, so we were on these end of the month reports and we have a 9 o'clock here. We got a few minutes. So I look at this document and this tells me what we got left out of the budget. There are some questions in my head that I think we can answer fairly fast. Some departments are down to fumes. Nikki, could you answer the, like the treasurer's department? There you go. Okay. Is that the way you understand it? Okay, so that one makes sense. So that department has a fairly significant capital improvement. If memory serves, it's like $90,000. So that budget was structured so that towards the end of the year, she would actually pull out of that.
Okay, so it worked. Right? I mean, that's what was supposed to happen and that's what happened, so.
Yeah. And our budget looks like we've been very, very conservative. However, do we have the contributions to come out of that yet? Okay, so our K-Camp insurance is 200,000, 199. Okay, so it looks like we have a pile of money and we do, but 200,000 of that is earmarked. So.
Yeah, just goes away.
Yeah. Okay, did anything on that stand out to you? Mr. Paul?
No, but I'm not sure what the attorney's doing, but everything else looks fine.
Yeah. I can't remember the amount, but.
He's pulling out a
Okay,
capital
all right.
improvement to finish the year. All right.
Everything else is close to 16%, which is what we should have.
Yeah. And is it possible or plausible that some departments, you know, when we get closer to the end of the year, are they trying to really watch it to make sure they're gonna make it through and then maybe have a planned expenditure the last week of the year and just kind of spend it out? Not usually. Okay, okay. Okay, I just wonder, some of them are holding, you know, a fairly significant amount of their budget yet.
So for instance, like noxious weed,
Where's that? Let me get there. Okay, yep.
so it looks like there's still a significant amount of his budget there. Okay.
All right.
Well, I mean, this would be the time of year, I wouldn't think he'd be
Doing much.
doing much.
Unless he
as-
wants to
as
land,
part-
he may want to land some chemical too, you
Yeah.
never know. He did have that budget. That's a pretty significant line item in his budget for next year, I believe, is chemicals. He had been using up old stock. I think he has to replenish. And things like road and bridge, that has a significant balance in it. Which, since we stopped the rock. you know,
Correct.
That number should be fairly static. Now, do we have the ability, Nikki? So say somebody goes in the red, say we go in the red. I mean, the mechanics of this budget, can we pull from, I mean, in the past, you guys have pulled from road and bridge, is that right? Is that where you go? Okay. Okay, so there's guidelines. You know them fully well.
Not as good as it should, brother, but
Okay, well,
that would be usually take. I have been taking some out of the bridge.
well, okay.
Around it.
Okay. So when you two look at this document for this time of the year, is this pretty normal? And no red flags?
Service for elderly, thing.
Yeah. So, it's like $500.
Oh,
Can they pull out of their,
But it's the budget balance, there's a cash, okay, but.
But correct me if I'm wrong, if we don't roll into the first of the year with carryover, there's no money right at the first of the year, correct? Right, and that first distribution happens when? I mean, in the first quarter, I'm assuming. Okay, so that's typical, I'm assuming that typically this is how you guys have rolled in Jan 1 is with your carryover, and that gives you money. If they bleed their budget down to 0%, they start Jan 1 with no money until there's that reimbursement, correct? That's how it's been in the past. Okay. So do you think that plays a part in the budget when they're thinking about the budget? Do you hear that they're trying to end the year with a surplus so they have money at the beginning of the year, or?
Looks like last year, this year was pretty stagnant, right?
Okay, so it is fairly quick turnaround. There is money coming back in. Okay. And you said on the commissioner, that amount was 200 or 250?
It's $200,000 for
Okay.
the insurance premium, the contribution
Okay.
is what it'll be called.
And so in the past, the way it's been working, it's not a use it or lose it budget, correct? Okay, good.
Budget amount first, right?
Yeah, because when you have that kind of policy, you see what happens.
So my question earlier was though, say one department, say the sheriff's department, because they're the one that buys cars, say he wanted a car. But he wasn't real sure about his budget. Just to make sure you could get through the whole year, then maybe you go ahead and do that. You see that happen? Yeah, so if you're trying to run a tight budget, but you know you need a plan to replace some equipment. Do you just kind of wait until you get to the end of the budget year to say, hey, I didn't have any other big things pop up. Now I feel comfortable that I have the money, so I go ahead and spend it. Yeah, okay. Well, I just used that department because I knew how to lay it out. I don't know.
So have we ever had meetings with the department heads like in the third quarter? Just to get them in the third quarter and say, how's your budget looking? Do you have big expenses coming in that last quarter that is gonna deplete this? Have we ever done that before?
I don't know.
Does that seem like something you guys would be willing to do next year? I mean, just a quick, simple meeting with the division heads and saying, hey, look, we're doing well on this budget. Can you just for instance, the sheriff's department right now? You know, is there a big expense you're gonna have in this last quarter? I mean, that'd be something we might
It
do.
sounds very reasonable.
Okay. Well, I think next year we look at that
Okay.
because,
So you want to do a third quarter meeting?
yeah, I'd say anytime sooner than that would be premature.
Is there any value in meeting with department heads throughout the year?
I think there's always value with meeting with department head, just like the department heads for custodial. It gets them. They're part of the game then, instead of just a department that's working.
Okay,
So,
so we'll put that on our 2026 wish list. Trying to schedule quarterly. Would that be, I mean, is that an inconvenience, do you think? If you you do work at the courthouse, Nikki, is that an inconvenience to come down and talk to the commission once a quarter? Okay,
if it is, there's a problem there. That's, I
okay,
mean, that's just good transparency. That's. I think that's a good way to move forward and have everybody part of
sure.
the process.
All right. On my wish list, we're in the holiday or Christmas season here. So. Okay, so this document has a lot of information. Nothing really stood out to you or to you that we asked some good questions. Is there any other discussion over this?
I got one thing
Yes, sir.
on the road and bridge. They sold some iron. And it went to the District 1 and District 2. I don't know. District 3 sold some, but I didn't see any there, so I forgot to put in the right place. It's probably a county question.
Cause I don't, feel it.
Okay, and then see, that's always fun to bring 1, 2, and 3. So when we roll the calendar year over, one of my topics from our work session was trying to get this thing consolidated in the timeline. I think we mentioned in the spring. So how do we break that habit of 1, 2, and 3 and get this thing to, the road, county road? Haven't we had it yet?
I think the first quarter is our target date to say by the first quarter of 2026.
Okay.
We want the district working as more of a team than 3 different districts.
I'm not sure it's not bad though, to kind of keep the money distributed throughout the county halfway. Oh. Not too tightly, but somewhat.
So for instance, you're probably raising that question because they just sold some scrap iron. 2 of the districts had scrap iron, they sold it, and you want to make sure it stays within that district for their budget.
Or something like that, yeah.
I think that as you move forward and you have. We get rid of it, it's their budget,
Right,
meaning
and so
it's the
just
county's budget.
make sure. Just. That everything in the county is taken care of. Over the.
Sure,
the timely
sure.
basis.
Do you have a concern that if we get rid of the districts, that some parts of the county will be forgotten? Or looked over?
Not really.
Okay.
Depends on.
And the reason I'd say that's. What we're looking to do would make it better for the county, because right now you have 3 districts or 3 budgets, right? So let's say District 3 ran out of money, but they needed something done, right? So right now, that district suffers because they ran out of money. But I look at it as, no, it's Brown County. If they need something done in Fairview, it needs to be done, whether their budget, you understand?
Right,
Right,
and I'm all right with that, but
sure.
this kind of depends. On who you got in charge of it, whether that would ever happen or not.
That's up to us to make sure that we manage that, right? So
So,
I like what you're saying, but I think if we understand what the goal is to serve Brown County, not to serve Hiawatha or Horton or Fairview, to serve Brown County. So,
so District 3 will always had a bigger budget because they got more roads.
sure. And they still will be able to do,
Has an extra township, but
Sure.
still, yeah. We should be working together, that's what I think.
yeah, absolutely. Because again, if we ever got ourselves in a position where one part of the county didn't have money to do something that needed to be done,
Or if you don't have
we need to make sure it
enough
gets
employed,
done.
I mean, they ought to be able to switch.
Yep.
Where they would. Somewhat.
I agree.
All right, absolutely. Any more questions?
And that's all I have.
Yeah, that's the end of it. Okay, well, we don't need to make any motion on that, so. We have a 9 o'clock. Are they online? Okay, but they will be by Zoom. Okay. Cool. Is there what else do we want to talk about while we've got a few minutes here? Not much? Okay. Okay.
One thing, and we can bring it up with Austin the next time he's in, but we were talking about taking a look at the current agreement for dispatching.
Okay,
So I think we just need to keep bringing that up because I think it kind of fell by the wayside right now.
For agreement for.
Right now, currently,
with the county and city of Hiawatha?
correct,
Okay.
correct.
That's a topic, that we need to discuss, that we bring up and it kind of gets pushed back. So we want to push it more to the front. Yeah.
It was 2017, I believe, when the agreement went out. If that could get emailed to us, that'd be great.
All right.
And then one other thing, I talked to VJ about, for payroll. Doing a separate report that we would see in our meetings that show overtime. And so she did something you did something real quick. I'm sorry. I thought that came from, but anyways, could we start saying that when we do the payroll? And it just, if you want a pulse of where your company is or your county is, overtime often tells you if you're having overruns, because it usually means that something went wrong. We're having to pay extra in payroll. So I thought that if we just have a simple report as we're going through payroll and it showed a spike in overtime, then it'd be a good time for any one of us to bring it up and say, so what happened there?
Okay,
Okay.
wonderful.
Thank you, Nikki.
All right, we're coming online here. We are making excellent progress in time this morning. Like a well-oiled machine. Okay, Two Faces on Zoom. Welcome, gentlemen, to your 9 o'clock appointment with the Brown County Commission. If you would introduce yourselves and and have at it.
Sure. Yeah. Hi, my name is David Knutson, and I'm the acting administrator for K-Camp, the company that insures your county. And I've been the accountant for K-Camp for like about 25 years, but we're currently in a little transition period between the former administrator, David Luke, who's on the call also as well, because I felt like it'd be good to have him join us because he has a lot more history and can kind of a lot more knowledge regarding K-Camp than I do. So I thought it'd be good to have him along. But and we're kind of in a little transition period. We have a new administrator that's going to be starting here actually next week. So anyway, so you guys are kind of catching us right at kind of an in-between time, but this is an important decision for you guys to decide. So I'll let kind of David Luke kind of introduce himself a little bit too. He's probably talked with you before. So go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Thanks for having us participate. I was with K-Camp for 12 years, starting January of 14, and just stepped down in July. And yeah, as David said, we have the new person starting. So appreciate your patience with us during the transition. So yeah, we understand that you were looking at, like everyone, you're looking at the cost of the coverage overall and probably looking for ways to reduce that if possible. And I think you mentioned that you were talking about not covering the Historical Society building, and we historically have not excluded locations from county coverages, and there's several reasons for that. One is, a commission may want to vote to do that today, and then as the commission changes over and a loss happens, the new commission says, well, what the heck, why wasn't this covered? This should have been covered. And they don't realize it was a prior commission that made that decision. And so it would require us to constantly revisit that issue to make sure that that is something the county continues to want to do. And that would be very difficult to track if counties were doing that across the board with multiple buildings. It would become very, very difficult to manage that kind of process. The other reason is particularly with a building like this that's in town and it's recognizable to all the citizens. If that building were significantly damaged by, let's say, a tornado or a fire, it's going to be kind of a blight in town, right? People are not going to be happy having to look at that, and it's going to be quite expensive to tear that down and to remove all the debris. And if you don't have coverage, you would have to have funding to make that happen. And so we've just always sided on the erred on the side of caution and just continue to cover locations, even if the sense is, not sure we would want this or use this going forward. The coverage you do have does provide you with, you would have replacement cost coverage if you wanted to replace, but if you chose not to, you would get what's called actual cash value for it up front, ACV. And so you would have depreciated cost coverage and we would make that payment up front. And if you then decided at that time, whenever that loss occurs, we're not going to replace this. We're going to go ahead and use this actual cash value payment to go ahead and tear down the building, remove all the debris, clear the lot. You could use the money for that purpose, and whatever was left over, you would just keep. So that would be an option with the coverage that you have. So I hope we're addressing the topic that you were concerned with, and if there are any questions on that, happy to take those.
So I kind of came into this a little late, but correct me if I'm wrong. So the appraised value of the building was skyrocketing, correct? It was going up considerably from what it was before.
Well,
I believe the number I was told, it was like $8 million of coverage on that building.
yeah, it's just under 8.5.
So 8.5 million. So
Yeah.
how was that determined?
We appraise all of our county locations every 4 years. So we have an independent commercial appraiser that specializes in county risks. So they look at courthouses, jails, historical societies, libraries. I mean, this is what they do nationwide. And so they come on site, they look at your blueprints, they actually, look at the facility. They have, of course, their own software and their own database that helps provide some guidance to them. And so we come up with the replacement costs based on that independent on-site appraisal every 4 years. And then in the off years, we use trending factors. Marshall and Swift is one of them, but we use multiple trending factors to come up with inflationary adjustments. And so it is, I mean, when you say it's significantly higher than it was before, it depends what you mean by before. For years, there were really nominal increases to our county's valuations. I mean, it wasn't uncommon, for example, to do a 1% off year adjustment. COVID changed that. So materials, material costs and labor costs really both rose significantly during the COVID years. And I can't rattle it off for you with accuracy, but it was something like we had to do a 12.5%, for example, valuation increase. It was probably in 2021, and then it was maybe 8% the next year. So that's huge. Yeah, I mean, you add those two numbers together, that's a 20% increase in valuations. But it pans out. I mean, we're spending more when we have to pay for a loss. So the reason, obviously, we do those valuations is to make sure we're current and we're charging enough contributions so that we can actually pay those losses and still keep the pool solvent.
So do you happen to have what the number was before the last increase? Was it $6 million? And then it went to it went to 8.5.
I mean, I can go back to the prior appraisal really quick. I think, let me see here. Which would be, 4 years ago. I think this appraisal was 2025, so it should be 2021. And, this, to me, this is actually the advantage of being in a pool, because when you're with commercial insurance, they're taking the value that you give them, and they're not appraising. Now, they may do some off-year inflationary adjustments, but I'll just tell you, when we bring a member into a pool that's never been in our program and we appraise them, their values are way understated, which also ultimately means they don't have adequate coverage. And particularly if they're writing it like on a stated value or what they call an agreed value, they're saying, hey, we'll just agree with you, this building is $4 million. Well, if it turns out it's 8, you're holding the bag for the difference. And so that's one of the reasons why we do the appraisals. We want to make sure we've got adequate values stated so that, the coverage is adequate. It looks like 4 years ago, it was 5.5.
So it went up 3 million in 4 years.
Yep.
Okay, so you started out the call with exactly what we are facing here. I mean, it's all about budget and money. We look at that building and we didn't see the premium adjustment. We just made a guess. 2025 was $21,200, I think. We assumed since the building was going up around $2 million in appraised value. I just put $3,000 on it. I don't know if that's right or wrong, and called it about 25,000. So our cost benefit of that $25,000 spent, we determined we could do better spending that money elsewhere. You mentioned if we were hit by a tornado or some, God forbid, some sort of just unforeseen event. We are a county that has quite a bit of equipment and manpower at our disposal. And, you know, we can take care of that. Now, would we want to, and would we have rather had the insurance check? Well, absolutely. But we just determined that it is worth the risk for a building with limited use at $25,000 a year to cover that. We assume that ourselves, and if something would happen, we just have to clean it up. Our thinking is instead of paying that premium, we would hold that money in reserve up to an amount really we haven't determined, but kind of our own private just in case fund. Now, you did mention something here that I guess I hadn't considered. We are covered for a replacement cost. You said something about actual cash value, which is not near the insurance, but it shouldn't come with near the price tag either. And just to clarify, when I look at K-Camp's schedule of insurance, I am amazed at what you're able to do on property, on rolling stock, on things like that. The premiums charged to the county. I wish I could do that well in my own business because I mean, it's very affordable. But in this one instance, for a building that, you know, it houses a historical society and there's a lot of good memories there, but in all practicality, we just don't use it that much. And we're just trying to do our due diligence here and prioritize where we spend county funds. So I guess long-winded, the AC actual cash value, you know, what is that? What would that insurance cost? And then really, that's the biggest question for me.
I guess my other question would be, was it just in the last 2 years maybe, or 3 years where the insurance companies they've adopted a plan where it used to be you could go and say, hey, we want to insure this building for X. And it seems to me, based off my own personal stuff, it seems to me we can't do that anymore. No, we have to insure it for total replacement value. Am I wrong in saying that? In other words, does the county have the option to look at the Historical Society and say, we would love to insure it X amount of dollars, and God forbid something happened to it, because maybe it wouldn't be a 3-story building when it comes back. In other words, maybe it's a really nice single-story building or 2-story building. Do we even have that option anymore? Or is it basically we have to replace it for this much money? Or we have to.
Yeah, good question. Both of those are good questions. So first of all, you really already have, you have full replacement costs, but essentially, to my point earlier, you're going to get ACV regardless. So with the coverage you have now, the $20,000 premium or contribution that you pay for this building, we are going to write a check to you for whatever the depreciated cost is. So let's, if it's a total loss and we get the adjusters out there and we determine, I'm just pulling this number out, I don't have a, reliable gauge, but it could be something like 2/3, let's say. So you might get $5.6 million. So we would just write that check, here's the 5.6, and then you could do with that what you wanted. And you could choose not. So you already have that coverage in essence with the contribution you're paying. There wouldn't be an adjustment really. I mean, yeah, there's a little bit if we don't price our coverage, in other words, to do ACV. We just don't offer that because we just don't. We want to give our members, the best coverage that's out there. And so we don't have a rating to say, hey, if we did ACV coverage, here's what it would be. Because we want to give you replacement cost. We actually take it a step higher and say, well, if you wanted historical reproduction, like you wanted to rebuild that building so it looks like it does today, not like, that single-story modern office building, we could appraise it at historical reproduction cost and provide you that coverage as well. But we don't.
And don't get me wrong. I mean, I think if something was to happen, I think the commission would be, you'd want it to look historical. I'm just saying it may not be a 3-story building in the future.
Sure.
It'd be a historical single-story building that looks appropriate to the time that it was built.
Yeah. Well,
at a lot less cost to rebuild it.
To rebuild. Yeah, no, I get you. But what I'm saying is even at replacement costs, which is kind of to us, sort of the minimum that we want to provide, it wouldn't get you your historical character back. So when we send out those appraisal letters every 4 years, that's when we tell you, hey, if you have some historical buildings that you would like you know, in the event of a loss, to be rebuilt to maintain their historical character, you'll have to let the appraiser know that, and they'll appraise it both at a replacement cost valuation and also historical reproduction valuation. And then we
So are
can
you,
quote you.
are you saying that the $8.5 million appraised value on the building that currently stands wouldn't get us a historical building?
Correct. That's correct.
You guys aware of that?
Mhm.
Okay.
I'd asked the same
Oh,
question.
okay. I wasn't in.
I'd asked it earlier. That's the
Sure.
only reason I
Sure.
did. I would assume, had I not asked that, that 8.5 million would buy you a historical building. But I was wrong. So.
The only thing I might add to that is that, you know, Dave was talking about if you didn't replace it, then that's where you'd get that like $5-6 million number. But if you did replace it, I guess it'd be with like similar size, similar, like a similar building, maybe not with like the exact stone and things like that. That's when you could, that's, if you go ahead and do the replacement, that's how you get the 8.5 or whatever it's appraised at. And then in addition to that, I think, David, correct me if I'm wrong, but we do cover up to 25% additional on top of that if replacement costs were actually turned out to be higher than the 8.5, it would go on up an extra 25%. But you'd have to replace the building kind of with similar size, I believe is, I don't remember what the exact term
Yeah,
is.
we would provide, so we have what's called a margin clause. So if even though we are appraising every 4 years and doing the trending in the off years, we have a provision that says, you know, if it still ends up being understated, you're still covered up to 25% more than what's reported on the schedule. You know, another consideration, some counties are taking higher deductibles to reduce their costs. K-Camp still has very low deductibles relative to the commercial market. So you're at a $5,000 all other perils deductible, meaning, and all other perils being not the catastrophic stuff. So, you know, wind, hail is excluded from that, but like a fire, just a traditional peril, that would be a $5,000 deductible. That's really low. You know, when I started, we were at $500, which was great.
Yeah.
But, you know, we hadn't increased that in like 20 years. And with inflation and everything else, it just didn't make sense. So we've gone to 5,000 for all other perils. And then wind, hail, you're at $10,000, which again is very low. And one of the things K-Camp is doing to shield our counties from the really challenging, what we call a hard property market, is our reinsurance, like most reinsurers are saying, we want a % deductible for each location. So they actually told us to apply a 1% per location deductible. So for you all, for just this building, that'd be what, $85,000. So you're supposed to have an $85,000 deductible on that building. You're supposed to, and then we do that. They would want us to do that for each building. We went back to our actuary and said, what if K-Camp as a pool were to share that risk and spread it across the members? So we will absorb the difference between the $10,000 wind hail deductible. I'm sorry. Yeah. $10,000 wind hail deductible and the 1% per location deductible that the market is demanding we put in place. And then we got a number from our actuary, and then we charge that back to our members. And so we're spreading that cost. And that's really to shield you from having to take on that 1% yourself. There's one other insurer, I think in Kansas, that'll do a wind hail deductible that's I think it's still per location, but it's a flat dollar as opposed to a percentage, but it's higher than $10,000. So I'm just saying, you have still probably the lowest deductibles you could possibly get with K-Camp. And if you were looking to reduce your costs, you could increase those deductibles. So you could say, you know, we're willing to look at a 10,000 all other perils and maybe a 50,000 wind hail, or we have members that are taking $100,000 wind hail deductible. And that's per occurrence. It's not per location. So it's still better than that 1%. But that is an option. We could quote you higher deductibles on the property side. Say maybe a $10,000 all other perils and maybe a $25,000 or $50,000 wind hail. And that would provide you some savings.
What kind of savings are we talking about as the percentage wise, or just, I'm sure you don't have that in front of you, but.
I don't, but we're talking about a $20,000 contribution with this building, and I'm willing to bet you're gonna get pretty close to that if you start, with some different deductible options. So we could put that together for you and even have it ready for your next commission meeting.
All right.
I don't see what it would hurt. I mean, obviously it cost you guys some time and I apologize for that, but.
Oh, no, we're happy to do that, to quote it, and we'll give you options so you can, weigh those, and we can also present it to you with kind of your historical losses. So
Is
you
that
can
an
get-
all or not? I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, we could just give it to you with your historical losses, so you can get a sense of, well, how many times have we hit that $25,000, or how many times have we had a $50,000 wind hail loss, and you can kind of average that out and say, well, maybe over 10 years, we've done that, X number of times, and so here's how much funding we might want to set aside to pay for that kind of deductible loss. But I'm sorry, go ahead.
My question was, is that an all or nothing approach? Can we isolate the historical building that we're talking about and raising the deductible just on it in an attempt to save that premium and leave the other properties alone? Or adjustments different?
I would have to check with our underwriting on that. I'm not sure she could do that, but I can check with underwriting, and we can let you know that too.
Okay. All right, well, no, that's fair enough. Any questions, Mr. Pollock?
No, I appreciate it. I think we're looking for options, guys.
Yeah.
I get it. Yep. Yeah, we want to be as helpful as we can. I think for us as an organization, we've really, we just want our members to be set up. Because it all sounds good before the loss, but then when the loss happens, there's a lot of unhappy people, right? And then you say, well, why we've got this terrible building now sitting out here and the public's mad, and how did this happen? And, why weren't we given a chance to look at that again? And it could get really, really messy. And so we try to provide the best coverage available at like you said, Commissioner, at the most competitive pricing. And it's a model that has worked very well over the years. So, but we want to, we get it. Insurance has gotten more expensive, and we understand you're looking to cut. So I think this deductible approach might be a good way to tackle that.
Yeah, no, that's a wonderful sort of side benefit of this conversation is that, who knows what we do on that specific building, but we do need to relook or take a look at the deductibles and the specifics of our county insurance plan. Sounds like that's what you're going to do. So
Yes.
Yeah.
that's great. That's a little side benefit. So
I guess one question is, if that was sold to another entity, another foundation or something, then could that be taken off the county's roll then?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I don't want to be pushy like that. I'm just we're just your coverage provider. But I was wondering as we were talking, like, man, why don't we just sell that building? I don't know if you have a buyer for that or not, but
I'll sell it to you for half appraised value. Makes a heck of a deal.
Yeah.
David, are you interested?
Yeah, I saw what you're getting annually on the lease, on leasing it. So it's not, it doesn't really pay off, wouldn't pay off very good. Yeah.
All right. Well, all in good fun. No, this is wonderful.
Yeah.
We'll get some information from you between now and maybe our next meeting then. Is that right?
You bet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Sounds
Sure.
good. Good to see you all.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thanks.
Sure.
All right. Take notes on the back of the agenda here. So that was wonderful. Good job. Is everyone in pretty good shape here? It's 9:24. Okay. So do we need to have any more discussion on that?
I don't know. You need to transfer, dude. Just transfer it. Just supposedly all the buildings out there.
We'd still end up paying the premium though, because they don't have the money.
Well, right. They wouldn't necessarily have to insure Because it really need, I mean, insurance is kind of like you're gambling that something's gonna happen.
Well, you're also gambling at not, at preventing the unknown costs that you weren't budgeted for, right?
Right.
I mean, obviously. I look at that building and I think our biggest risk is the roof on it. I mean, in this area, I think hail damage to that roof is probably the most likely thing that's gonna happen. Obviously tornadoes and obviously fire, that's all possible. But I think that our biggest risk is another hail event, and that roof probably would be $50,000 to do. Maybe even
You said 50, right?
50, yeah. And so that's, you know, you're trying to preserve that historical feature in your downtown historical square. And obviously, the last thing we want is a blighted building in our historical downtown square. But that's why I was making the comment that, you know, God forbid, something happened to that building. I think the probable replacement would maybe not be a 3-story building. It'd be a really beautiful single-story building or whatever that adds to value to this area. So that's why I was asking those questions is, you know, would we build that giant building? I don't know.
Yeah, take somebody with vision, because you know what I see a really nice outdoor space, park or something, but that's where we get
Right.
people going
Yeah.
across each other and.
And we're getting into the what ifs. I'm just.
What ifs,
You
yeah.
you guys are trying to be fiscally responsible by looking at the amount of cost that is
Sure.
costing an insurance. And let's just be honest, if we weren't getting an increase in insurance premiums, this probably wouldn't have even come up. It probably would have flown under the radar. But it's no different from health insurance. We can't just sit here and every year go, it's another 10%, another 10%. And in 5 years, we're paying $35,000 or $30,000 a year to
Right.
get insured. At some point, you have to put the brakes on.
Yep.
And that's what I believe you guys did. So.
Start asking questions.
Start asking
Okay,
questions, yeah.
okay. Anything on your mind? No? All right, so. Anything else for us?
Yes,
Yes,
I had. But they gave me their business here, and then I added what they gave, the staff on us, so the total.
Okay.
For. What we're gonna do.
so if you remember, we got a request to pay for a $2,400 telemetry reader. And the question came up as to, you know, why do we have to absorb $2,400 at one time to pay for a telemetry reader that facilitates the gas company? And so when I made the call, the lady that I spoke to said that the reason we're doing that is because we're buying the gas through basically like a co-op. We're not buying it through the local gas department. And then I just asked the question. I said, okay, well, how much more would it cost if we went back to buying local? And forgive me, the number was approximately, it went from like $666 per metric ton to $623 or something like that. There was a delta of about $40 per metric ton. And so then my question was, okay, well, how many months does that buy us if we're spending a little bit more in gas? You know, that 2,400 at one time seems to pay for a lot of gas. And so what she did is she went back, because the way I understand this is the Historical Society, since they're the occupant, they're reimbursing us for the gas cost, right?
Yeah, they directly have a population of a third party.
The third party, okay. So this was all done to try to figure out, does it make sense to go back?
Mhm.
Or does it make sense to pay the 2,400 and then also, I believe it was like a yearly charge of $350. So you have a subscription fee on top of that.
Okay.
And so that's what brought this all up. And this is where we're at right now. So
So what does this tell me?
what I asked is, what are they paying a month for gas?
Right.
And if we could take and take a look at, so in other words, to put it in the most simple forms, it's no different from if we're buying diesel for $3.50 a gallon right now, and by not spending $2,400, we're going to be paying $3.55 a gallon or $3.60 a gallon.
Sure.
At some point, you got to look and say that buys us, and obviously gas is you know, and whatever we're paying right now, it could go up next year, it could go down next year. But it was just to have a more,
So are these like actuals here? These are actuals and then what?
I don't know if it's very close or not, I don't-
No,
You're a numbers guy, you see it. So in December of 2024, I have two columns of numbers, one, no header, and the other says Kansas Gas. So the first column is,
they do compilation for that.
okay, and Kansas Gas,
What they do, like, I didn't transfer it or it goes through the system.
so the total charges for gas for the month of December 2024 are those two numbers added together.
and it appeared to me that there was about a 33% difference per metric cubic feet in buying gas between Constellation on average and the local gas company.
33%.
No, it was $6.93 per million cubic feet. If we were buying on average from the local gas company. And by going through Constellation, it looked like it averaged $6.66. So there's 27 cents, is that correct? 30, less than 30 cents per metric cubic feet. And I know we're getting into, you know, splitting hairs here,
We got
but
a little time.
yeah.
So what is a million cubic feet or what?
That's a question that I'm gonna have to find out.
I mean,
But that's what I was kind of hoping that when we start, so in other words, they paid $106.46 in December of 2024. Had they been paying 30 cents more per metric cubic feet, how much would that bill have gone up? What I'm trying to do is not harm the occupant and all of a sudden they get a significant increase in their gas bill and go, wait a minute, guys, why are we spending so much more money? But I also didn't want to spend $2,400 for a telemetry reader right away and then,
Plus the 350.
yeah.
So it's about, or looks like they're spending about $2,000 a year a winter. You buy 2,000, that's a computer, 2,000 by 6.66 or whatever, that should tell you how much they're using.
Divided by what?
$6.66. You're getting 300, so it's 27 cents times 300
Mhm.
$1.
Yeah. It seems like it's a very small amount to me.
And then if you have to pay $350 additional, is that $350 for each building or for the county as a whole, for the whole thing?
It is each building, yes.
Okay, so then
Yeah.
that's on top of that.
Yeah.
So it's to me,
The yearly fee would I guess the cost for the yearly fee is more than
Right.
safe.
And now that we have these numbers, I can go back and I can call this lady and we can make sure that what we're looking at is correct. But the way I looked at it is, it doesn't make sense for us to spend the money on the telemetry reader
there's only one more question. Is
in 2025. Obviously, 2026, as you know.
right, could be different. So a few years ago, whatever that, when they had that freeze down in Texas or wherever, gas prices got out of control. How did that affect us? And how did it, what difference would that make if that happened again?
Well, again, I can't tell you what
I mean,
gas is gonna do in 2026, but so I'm just going off of a yearly average.
I guess the question is, being local or being with a co-op, does that make a difference?
I think it would if, for instance, this building uses a lot of gas.
Right, but I mean,
That building over there, the Historical Society, because there's very few occupants, it's very, very low on their gas usage.
but it seems like it. Not everybody got hit with those high prices, but some cities did and some cities didn't, so. I don't understand,
Does this,
I don't understand.
by having this telemetry meter, does that limit the county's exposure to those big swings in the gas?
Or it's just which company you're with, yeah.
I don't remember the specifics of that, but I think what he's asking. If you bought gas from X on the open market,
Mhm.
when that thing, I mean, you just ate it, you had to pay for it. But if you had it from say a different supplier that had its own supply in the pipeline or in the tank, then you didn't have to, you weren't exposed. to it.
Right. So you're hedging your bet is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So again, that might be the decision we make, that we continue down that road, but when a $2,400 bill
Sure.
comes across, you question it.
So you've got the information you need to make another round of phone calls.
Right.
Okay.
And just give us a little, because again, the quick math that we're doing right here, it appears that by going away from that, it's gonna have very little effect on our occupant.
So another thing I'd say, if something like that did happen, we shut the gas off and use electric heat for those 4 or 5 days or whatever. It happened. Could prevent a big, I mean, electric heat's high price too, but you don't have to keep it at 70 degrees.
Correct me if I'm wrong, doesn't that building have electric heat in it already?
Well, then what's the gas for?
It would be, I'm sure there are stoves or whatever. I don't know. I've never,
I don't know either.
but these are all questions that we can find out. Right?
Anyway,
Okay.
I think,
Okay, so I can take this, Nikki?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I appreciate you doing that, because I think you're on the right track.
Well, sometimes when you question things, you find out that what you're doing is actually the right way, right? So you're not always making a change every time we question something.
Oh, you hope you're doing it for that.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, that's what you. Okay, we still have a few minutes here. We do we want to go over this addendum to the employment agreement?
Yeah.
While we got some time.
My comment on this, it's an extremely short form contract. Right? So there's not a lot of gotchas in this thing. And obviously, we're signing a very simplified contract with our council. And so I think that if we're worried about our own council getting to us, then we've got the wrong council.
Well, no, that's not what I meant.
No, I know.
That's-
That's because usually you don't see agreements
Sure.
this short, and that's a good thing in my opinion.
So you're good with words. I mean, I would summarize this as we're asking more than we originally did.
Correct.
And so now we need to be paying more. Is that?
Correct, but we three agree that this is a short time thing, because we're asking more at the beginning. Understanding that within so many months, we won't be asking this much of him.
Okay.
Is that correct?
So it says that they anticipate it to be your next year, but could be shorter.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. So in other words, there's no penalty if in the first quarter we say, Austin, everything's going a lot smoother. We appreciate it. We can cut back now. There's no penalty for that. Yeah. So let me ask the hard question. As Austin does more, does that mean that our current council does less?
Well, he, yeah, he's not, he wouldn't be our current council.
Right, but originally he was. Correct?
Right.
And what I'm getting at is there was an agreed upon price. And so we've reduced the amount of work.
Mhm.
Am I correct in saying that?
Mhm.
But his compensation wasn't reduced in any
It
way.
didn't change, right?
Okay. Well, at some point, I think we need to look at that.
Probably for the first year.
Okay. All right, I'll ask, my question would be then, if we go back to this cash and budget summary. So the money for this, it's $2,000 each month in additional compensation, so it'd be 24,000.
If we were to go 12 months.
If we were to go 12 months. I was just planning for the
Correct.
worst case, I guess. So, I guess number one, to finish out the year, if things went the way they're supposed to go, we would have the room in our budget to handle this extra expense.
Correct.
in 2026. If we go to our commission budget, which is a file there somewhere, number 24. I know it's listed. Where is it?
You're in 2026 budgets.
Yeah,
And so
what I was looking for specifically was. Well, okay, it would be, so now as we work backwards here, so we engaged with Mr. Parker at 3,000 a month. As our county counselor. That money comes out of the commission budget. What I'm looking for is an item here. Is trying to remember how we funded that. Or if we did acknowledge that as a line item in 2026. Or if that just came out of the commissioners. Fund. Yeah. So if we allocate another $24,000 to that. Guess what? I'm just trying to see where the dollars and cents comes out. So we don't have a line item in there for that. So it's just gonna come out, that's gonna.
the total overall budget.
60,000. Funded to the max. Then we just need to know where that's coming from.
Right, and I think we also should agree that, and I think he agrees too, that we're not gonna go 12 months.
Okay.
At that, right? So that means that we need to be reviewing where we are going into the second quarter. Right? And how much longer we need to keep the extra hours.
Okay. Okay, and then to your point from before, if you go to the
Yeah,
turn, but yeah, you're already there.
right there.
So.
Do we agree? I mean, it just needs to be looked at least.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't mind going down that road at all. We just need to do it, be very judicious and, you know, have an action plan here, so. But instead of jumping forward, I guess I'll just look at what's right in front of me.
Okay.
Is this document something that we can sign? And if we're in agreement to sign it, can we fund it with money that we actually have to spend?
Well, we have enough money in our budget for this year, obviously. So that's November,
Yes.
December,
Yes.
okay? And then going forward.
Okay.
Keep it at a minimum,
Okay.
and we also,
Made into ineffective. So is this document says effective today, should we sign? Does that mean that the terms, the compensation terms change effective today?
if we're signing it, it would.
Okay. Okay, so we just do the math on November and then it starts paid in full on December?
Correct. Be prorated this month. Right?
Or do we take the position that his additional duties started the first of the month? And so we just,
I'm fine with that. I mean, we're not talking about. a lot.
no, okay,
No, no,
okay. Okay,
How do you feel, Bill?
either way.
he'd already done the math, that's why.
Well, it's $2,000 and this is the 10th, so the third of the month's gone, so.
Yeah.
The third of 2,667.
Okay, well. Are we in agreement then? is this a document we want to sign? If we do, somebody want to make a motion, and if you make the motion, tell us when you want it to be effective. Do you want it today, or do you want it the first, or whatever your preference is?
I would make a motion that we sign the addendum to employment agreement for Austin Parker, and then we started it first.
November. Okay.
I'm saying that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any more discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Yes, and I doodled on the front of
Yeah,
mine,
so
so
we
somebody
just
has a
need,
clean
we
copy.
just need a clean copy, correct?
Oh, and respect, remember what the other candidate was asking? This is not the quote.
Okay, we are getting so much done here. I'm uncomfortable with how fast things are moving. But it's great. It's a sign of, really a sign of progress. I think we're fixing a lot of stuff. We're able to advance the ball here pretty fast. So back to our agenda. That's closed out. Did anyone have anything from the work session on? Oh, yeah, on Thursday that we'd like to bring up while we have a few minutes?
The work session last Friday?
Yeah, last week. I had, and we asked about the short form contract for the snow CDL truck drivers. We talked a little bit about the road district consolidation. I had down here employee evaluation. Maybe just we had a little discussion about that. Having that happen on a regular basis. And then I have personnel policy review, which is probably more of a long-term type thing.
Correct, and Austin was talking about that this morning when he was here, was starting to look, I believe that. My gut feeling is, I could be wrong, but my gut feeling is on the Brown County personnel policies, a lot of times when these things are adopted, they're kind of cut and pasted from other counties or other cities. I can't be 100% sure, but we want to make sure, we just want to review it and see if everything in here pertains to our county as it should. Meaning, sometimes when you adopt new policies, you have verbiage in there that's like, well, that really wouldn't pertain to what we're doing. So we were just going to review it and just make sure there's nothing in here that shouldn't be there for Brown County. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yeah, just like plans and specs, you'll read them all the time and it's like, obviously this was cut from a much larger county or something, and they were talking about something that doesn't happen here. So that's kind of what we're doing.
Okay.
And then the only other thing, I just want to follow up with you, Nikki, because I know you had a list and you said that that's being worked on now. When Austin was here, okay, meaning that he's agreed to get you what you need, because obviously there's some unfinished business there. Okay, so if you could just make sure that if you don't feel like that's getting done, just bring it up to us again. Okay?
So, when Austin was here, I said something, and I'll just reiterate it, that I'm comfortable if we have one basic point of contact between us and our county council. Does that make sense? During the week on some of the odds and ends type housekeeping. things. I
Yeah,
don't want to overestimate.
as long as, again, as long as anything that's getting talked about is getting relayed to
Absolutely.
all the commissioners.
Absolutely.
That would be the only problem I would see running into something like that.
So my thinking, my intention is that we can conduct business with our county council who, it costs us money to work with them, and it costs him time. So if you have a question for him, or if the commission has a question for him and he's not here, and if you're willing, I would like to just sort of designate you as the contact. So you can ask that question and then relay it back to us, as opposed to me asking the question, you asking the question.
Both of you are fine with that, I'm fine.
So, and I'm not saying we can't do it, Bill, we need to be able to access it on our own, but in the interest of saving time and money, just.
Right. I think that's right.
So if the clerk's having trouble getting a few things done,
Right,
maybe she talks to you and you can work with him. You know what I mean?
right.
And I'm not trying to dump the world on your
You,
shoulders.
you're not, I mean, And you guys understand also, you can always pick up that phone and talk to them if you had a question.
Absolutely.
So,
Right, but there's something that come up,
sure,
but normally, most things can wait till a week.
sure.
Yeah.
And most businesses will do that. Well, they'll have a point of contact just to prevent the extra bills, because if you're getting
Right.
a call about one thing and I'm making that same call and it's a little redundant, we're getting. Right, so it's in an effort to keep it.
That's what I'm trying to.
Okay, I'm fine with it, as long as you two are fine.
I am totally fine with it. Okay, anything else? That has my notes from the work session. I did have, I'll bring this up. So you'd asked a question, Richard, about some salvage yards sort of popping up. And I went to the Northeast Kansas Environmental Services Board of Directors meeting last week. That would have been last Thursday. And so there are salvage yard regulations at the state level, like an official salvage yard. It needs a license to operate, and then it's supposed to be fenced, so you can't see around. All right. And what's an official salvage yard? Well, that's where it gets, I mean, at least at this meeting, we didn't quite understand it, but anything over 10 vehicles, 10 derelict vehicles.
Okay,
All right, so if that happens, if there's a property with over 10 derelict vehicles, the first office you call is KDOT, it's Kansas Department of Transportation. And I guess I found that a little, I mean, I wouldn't have expected that. But the environmental services, basically they have done this in the past with some properties. They can send a letter, but they don't really have the authority from the Northeast Kansas Environmental Services comes from the county prosecutor. So if nobody prosecutes it, it doesn't have any teeth. But the state may or may not. And there's also the Kansas Department of Health and Environment. There's an illegal dumping program. So they really won't address cars, but if there's garbage, junk, whatever, that's when the Kansas Department of Health and Environment can step in. So I don't know if
yeah, excellent.
that helps you or not. So I did address it. And another, I should have asked the K Camp man. So our, go ahead.
So what's a license worth?
I didn't ask. I don't know what it costs to have a junker's license. K Camp had a,
Part of the reason you asked that question too is you have legitimate businesses in the county who have expended the cost to do, for instance, we have salvage yards here in the county and that's their business. So if somebody else is doing it, but they're not having to pay for the licenses, they're not having to do the same things, it's unfair to the business that we already have.
sure.
You might agree? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, it's unfair. I'm not sure. I would say nobody needs a license rather than everybody needs a license.
Well, I know where you're coming from, Bill, but currently that's not how it is. For instance, if you have a restaurant in town and they're paying all the costs that's associated with having, all the overhead that's associated with having a restaurant, and you allow food trucks to come in and set up permanently, they don't have to pay the same cost, but yet they're competing against that business. So it's no different with, like I said, with the salvage yard. We have salvage yards here that are doing it the right way. So if other people are doing that, they're not playing by the rules. And you're getting complaints from your constituents saying, hey, this place is doing that, then we need to at least understand it. And it sounds like there is an avenue. KDOT already, basically the state already has an avenue where you could call and say, this is what's going on. And the other question was, does Brown County itself, does it have anything against illegal dumping or, illegal businesses, that kind of thing? And the answer is, I don't think we do. So. Anyways, that's where that question came from.
Okay.
We have something internal.
Do we have, would you know, Nikki, would we have a resolution on illegal? I think we'd have it on illegal dumping, like trash in the ditch. Well, you can get ticketed for it.
Right, well, those are the kind of questions that, yes, do we have it currently? And if we don't, why not? Obviously, nobody wants illegal dumping within our county. Especially if it was coming from another county, so. Where would that be, Nikki, if we had it?
Have a search for it. Yeah.
Okay.
Be in the Hall of Records.
In the Hall of Records,
Yes. Yes, okay. All right, well, I guess in the interest of time, we canvass ballots upstairs, correct? 10 o'clock. So can we, I would make a,
Down here, right? We start down here.
They're down here, you go to the room and then you go upstairs.
oh, all right. All right, well, I would, I want to make a motion to recess until 10 o'clock and we'll start the canvassing process here with the commission. All right, yeah, is there a second? It's been moved and seconded to recess until 10 o'clock. All in favor, say aye. 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 Huh? I like the We can continue this discussion later. All right, we're out of, we will reconvene the meeting here at 10 o'clock and we'll start the canvassing process. All right. So there's an awkward silence.
Motion to.
I need to start right here. Okay. I would make a motion that we recess our regular session to canvass ballots for the November 4th, 2025 general election. Is there a second? I will second that. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. 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 Okay, motion carried.
Okay, so everybody has their spreadsheet. You get a total of 11 provisionals this time. Start with the easy ones. We had two that were not registered anywhere in the county prior to election date. So the statute says that,
Okay.
six, it's probably eight. Yeah, eight within the county, they just changed addresses within, so statute says we can count them.
Okay. Mhm.
And then we have one clerical error. A voter got pulled to a different county by error, so she wasn't on our poll books because she was in theirs. So that was just an error, so it should count, but she should have been here.
Okay.
So that comes from registering it someplace else besides like the driver's license or.
Yeah, another county when they searched and the first and last name matched, so they thought it was their voter, so they pulled the record to their county. So it wasn't on our poll books, but the first and last name was the only thing that matched, you know, so. Was that an error? So. You guys motion before we go upstairs. What's gonna count? I think. Yeah. So if you're good with that, nine of the provisionals will count, two will not. And then we'll go upstairs and do that.
Okay, so we need that in the form of a motion?
Yes.
I'd make a motion that 9 of the provisional ballots will count, 2 will not. And we'll go upstairs and
Yeah. And you guys will open them and,
Usually open that meeting.
yeah, open them down here. Yeah.
So-
And
So
then,
there's a motion, do we?
So I made that motion.
Yes,
So
so
part of my motion was that we were gonna go upstairs and count. Is that inaccurate? Do I need to withdraw? If we count them down here.
Well, we open them and you go upstairs.
Yeah.
To the counter.
yeah, we're gonna count them down here and then go upstairs.
Okay, well, I'll still make that motion then that 9 of the provisionals will count 2 and and we'll open them down here and count them up. Is that safe? Okay, it's moving second. All in favor, say aye. 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 Okay, motion carried.
They both, you guys open them and verify there's ballots in each. And we count the numbers of envelopes and number of ballots, make sure it matches.
So this is totally new.
Not very, a big one, so it's kind of weird. There might be it, in the middle for.
The letter opener. There you go, there you go.
this one is. Well, we're just looking. right?
Yeah,
So
just,
there's
you
a-
can just make two piles, one for the envelopes and one for ballots.
Wait, I was 3-3.
I was 3-3.
Sorry.
This is kind of what the advanced board does. I know. You guys want to take the ballots and I'll take the envelopes.
All right.
Good. Yeah. You need to get a small chair like that. This thing is not bad. It's this.
Let's do what? Usually one person writes. Total, one reads it. In perfect order, so. You'll just be looking at. Each, race. And then if someone got a vote, you'll say it. And someone will write one or two, whatever they get. Through this report.
Okay. Why? Put this out of the way. All right.
Someone wants to read or go through where there's a vote and then if you want to write or vice versa.
All right, that's fine.
Okay.
That's fine. So I just make tally marks where there's a vote,
You'll just write the number.
right? Then,
Yeah.
okay, so
Okay, so what am I reading here? Which,
So you'll just be like Everest, mayor, and then Kimmy got one vote.
and you can, and also the provisional, you tell them that too? or-
Yeah, all of the ones we'll be doing today is just provisional.
Okay, so nothing on these sheet, it's basically,
City of Everest Mayor, yeah, Alfred.
okay. So City of Everest Mayor, Alfred Kimmy. Total one.
All right,
City of Everest City Council. Stephen Welch, total one.
Okay.
City of Everest City Council. Jesse Kimmy, total one.
okay,
City of Fairview City Council.
all right.
Looks like there was zero for that, so let me just keep going through here. Okay, so obviously this is everything and there's several,
Yeah.
I see. Okay, City of Horton, looks like Commissioner of Streets and Utilities, David Spain, total two. And then on this one, it had a write-in vote.
Yeah, we don't have to, on these, the certificate, we don't have to.
Okay. So the next will be City of Horton, Commissioner of Finance, Bobby E. Bacon, total of two. The next one will be City of Robinson Mayor, Kelly Griswold, total of one. The next one will be City of Robinson City Council, Arthur Malat, total of one.
All right.
Sorry, I didn't know. Okay, the next one will be for USD 415 School Board Member, position number 4. Okay, it's Ronnie Tegens. A total of 4.
All right,
The next one is USD 415 School Board Member, position 6, Brooklyn Sheets. A total of 4.
okay,
And then the last sheet is a different sheet. It's describing undervotes.
Okay. Oh. All the writings but didn't have anything in the provisional. So.
Okay.
Yep, I think that should be it.
And then there's one last sheet here. And it's USD 430 school board member, position number 5.
Mhm.
Shelby Rice. A total of 4.
Okay,
And then USD 430 school board member, position 6. Sarah Sturton, a total of 2. Okay. Okay. That's-
Yeah.
Position
5 on this, 415.
USC 415, position 5. Were there any moves?
One more time. USD was in the back. Making sure it's not in any of these. USD 415 school board member, position number 5, Phil Roberts. Total of 4.
Okay. We have a committee. Mhm. All right.
So everybody will sign those. It's permanent record of. Provisional accounts today.
Right here?
Yeah.
Every page?
Yes, please.
You go.
And then we just need there's the final report. We need a motion. With the number of votes cast and the voter percentage turnout, which.
Okay, so then we need a motion to approve the provisional count. That's correct?
I think that's what we did before.
So we did, okay, so then we need a motion here to approve the final report of the election with the number of votes cast and voter percentage turn. The ballots cast was 947 and the voter turnout is 14.2%. So I guess I would make a motion to approve the final report with those numbers.
I'll second that motion.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carried. Is this?
Yeah, I'll take that.
And this is-
Yep.
Right, well, thank you for doing all that work.
That's gonna be a little more eventful, but then just a motion to reconvene to regular.
Yeah, I would make a motion then to reconvene the regular meeting of the Brown County Board of Commissioners. Keep now. Is there a second? Okay, so we moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion carried. We are back in regular session. So we learned about the election process, or at least I did. And I've kept up in the minutes, but until you do it, actually. Now I have a great understanding. So Nikki, thanks, and your crew for all that hard work. And another election is in the books. Okay, I just signed the accounts payable that we approved earlier. I did. We'll get my house back in order here. So between now and noon, what do we have on the books? Can this be, we can just work on stuff, right? But we're in open session.
Yeah.
So Or what is the preference? I mean, we could, if we don't have anything in front of us, we can come back, eat an early dinner and come back. Well, I'm super flexible, so I'm always looking at other people for their schedule because my world's pretty open. So if you gentlemen would like to, I mean, do you want to talk about some stuff in open session? Is there anything to come before us that? Or would you?
So we are going to have another workshop session this on Thursday.
Mhm.
Okay. So just, since we're having that, there may not be as much. Right,
Okay.
correct?
No.
So you got people assigned with no files?
Yep. And I'm gonna be talking to him later. He says he'll have that for me later, which I hope he does.
So if they know on Monday, we ready to go?
Snows on Monday?
Don't know it.
Well,
I mean, they snowed in Chicago.
they won't be ready on Monday because we haven't, but I mean, the new.
Yeah. I guess
But
that
they'll be ready.
technically, if we could get something signed this week and get them in to do, just make sure that they get a safety walk around and familiar with the equipment, then technically, yes.
That must be, I just did Monday.
Okay. No, that's fine. Nikki, at the last meeting, we talked about the property use agreement and sending that out to department heads. Is that something we need to write down or is that?
On the website, you want to benefit with it.
Well, I didn't know what we could do to prevent what happened the last time when people were just a little concerned about what was going on. If we notified folks, then everybody would know. And then, the last thing I had was you made us this yellow sheet with our remaining meetings. Now, I took a picture of that and sent it to Austin. So he would know.
Okay.
And I guess I'd kind of let him down. I told him yesterday, we had our meeting time changed to the morning. And so I went ahead and sent this out, but
I missed November 17th on there, so.
okay.
But he also, often also got a copy of the calendar that I gave you guys 2 meetings ago.
Okay.
Thank you to everyone.
Okay, good. So he's aware. All right, then, anything else? We can recess. Would it be best to come back at, say, 11:45? And be ready for the next people that will be coming are, I mean, one is a good friend of mine. The other, I know fairly well, worked with him on the Kansas soybean organization, talk about this alternative bridges. Dennis Hoopy and Mike Steenhook. So I guess,
One thing I just got to talk Sarah Insurance person. Wanting to have information about our health insurance, we get the house and they're going to reach out. I'm gonna say that, I have everybody do this. If you want to claim about it. I can tell you that you possibly feel, but we don't know how to claim.
okay. Well. Not quite sure what to do with that. You want to talk to Austin about that when you talk to him?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was Sailor Insurance, you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can do that. And then did Dennis Hoopy send an email to you, this presentation?
So what's down here, got it here, but
Do you have it? No,
Okay. One is for that.
no, I don't have it. That's, so he sent, should be a PowerPoint presentation of what they're going to talk about, so we can just scan through it on our.
Okay.
All right, so you want to, are we good then?
Yeah, it's 10:30, so we'll be back at noon, right? Straight up 12?
The meeting will reconvene at straight up 12.
Okay.
I'll be back here at about 11:45 is when I'll come back, so.
Yeah.
I would make a motion then that did we call this a recess until noon? Okay, I would make a motion, we recess the meeting until 12 o'clock. Is there a second? Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carried. See you in an hour and some change.